Welcome back to Intermediate Legal English. Today we're focusing on something many lawyers find tricky: telephone communication. Unlike email or in-person meetings, phone calls give you no body language, no facial expressions, and very little time to prepare. But for lawyers, phone communication is essential. Clients call with urgent questions, court staff follow up on cases, and opposing counsel might ring you without warning. So, in this class, we'll practice how to answer professionally, state your purpose clearly, transfer or hold the call politely, and sound confident, even when the conversation is fast or unexpected. Let's get started. Here's what you'll learn in today's class. First, how to greet clients, judges, or opposing counsel when a call begins, and sound calm and professional. Then, we'll look at how to explain the purpose of your call and ask questions when you're not sure who you're speaking to or what they need. Next, we'll work on vocabulary for putting someone on hold or transferring a call, which is especially useful for law offices and firm receptionists. Finally, we'll cover two grammar tools that often come up on the phone: reported speech and question intonation. Both help you sound polite, clear, and confident. Let's start with a quick warm-up. What makes legal phone calls more challenging than casual ones? Think about it. When you're on the phone, you can't see the person, so you miss gestures, facial expressions, and cues. You rely entirely on tone and words. The speech might be fast, especially if someone's in a rush or stressed. The vocabulary is often formal, and sometimes you have to switch between speakers or departments, or even take notes while listening. So today, we're going to build your confidence in handling these challenging step by step with phrases, grammar, and world practice. Let's start with the phrase you'll hear in nearly every law office: hold the line. This means wait on the phone and don't hang up. For example, could you please hold the line while I transfer your call to the attorney? Picture this. A receptionist answers the phone. A client wants to speak to a lawyer, but the lawyer's in a meeting. So the receptionist says, "One moment, please. Could you hold the line?" It's a polite, professional way to ask someone to wait, and it's much better than saying, "Wait." Next up, put through. This phrase means to connect someone's call to another person or department. For example, "I'll put you through to Miss Lopez in legal services." In law firms, this is common. Someone calls the main line, but they need a specific lawyer. The receptionist doesn't just say, "Wait, I'll transfer you." They say, "I'll put you through now." It's simple, polite, and professional, and shows you know legal office etiquette. "May I ask who's calling?" This one's about tone and politeness. "May I ask who's calling?" means a polite way to ask for someone's name. For example, "Certainly. May I ask who's calling, please?" Instead of saying, "Who is this?" which can sound rude or suspicious. Lawyers and staff use this polite form. Let's say a client calls and says, "Hi, I need to speak to someone about my case." You respond, "Of course." "May I ask who's calling?" It keeps the tone calm, respectful, and professional, even if you're not sure who they are. Next one. "I'm afraid he's unavailable." This means the person can't take the call right now. For example, "I'm afraid Mr. Johnson is unavailable right now. May I take a message?" Why say "I'm afraid"? It softens the message. It's not about fear, it's about politeness. A client calls and asks for a lawyer who's in court. You could say, "He's not here," but it's much more professional to say, "I'm afraid Mr. Johnson is unavailable at the moment." It shows courtesy, even when delivering bad news. The purpose of your call. This is all about clarity. It's the reason someone is calling. For example, could you please tell me the purpose of your call? Let's say the phone rings and the person says, I need help with the case. You don't know who they are or what they want. So you politely ask, of course, could you please tell me the purpose of your call? This helps you direct them to the right department and keeps the call focused and efficient. This one, self-explanatory. I'll call you back. So this means you'll simply return the call later. For example, you could say, I don't have that information now, but I'll call you back as soon as possible. In legal practice, we don't always have answers right away. A client might ask about a case and need to check a file or speak with a colleague. Instead of leaving them waiting, say, let me confirm that and I'll call you back this afternoon. It shows professionalism. And gives the client the confidence that you'll follow through. Let's practice using the vocabulary in a real situation. You answer the phone and someone says, Hi, I need to speak to Attorney Morales. What should you say? Here's one professional response. I'm afraid Miss Morales is unavailable at the moment. Could you please tell me the purpose of your call? You've used two key expressions. I'm afraid she's unavailable, which is polite and respectful, and the purpose of your call, helping you direct the client properly. Then, depending on the reason, you might say, please hold the line. I'll put you through to her assistant. Short, polite, and efficient. Exactly what you want on a professional call. Here's a multiple choice practice. What's the professional response? A client says, can I speak with someone about a real estate case? Let's look at your options. A, wait a minute, I'll see who's free. Sounds a bit too casual. B, hold on, I'm transferring now, is better, but still too abrupt. I think the best option is C. Certainly. May I ask who's calling and the purpose of your call? This response is polite, clear, and professional. It helps you identify the caller, understand their needs more clearly, and direct the call properly, just like you would in a real law office. Let's try another one. A client calls and asks, is Mr. Davis available? Here are your choices. A, no, he's not here. That's too blunt and not very professional. C, he's busy, call back later. Also, a little rude and not helpful. Let's go for me. The best answer is B. I'm afraid he's unavailable right now. May I take a message? It's polite, respectful, and offers a solution. Remember, even when someone's unavailable, the way you respond reflects on the whole firm. Final one for now, and this one's about making a professional transfer. You're on the phone and need to send a call to Attorney Zhang. What do you say? A, 1 sec, I'm moving your call. That's too casual, especially using 1 sec instead of 1 second. Or C, just wait. No explanation, no courtesy. For me, the best answer is B. I'll put you through to Attorney Zhang in litigation. It's direct, polite, and professional. Clients don't just want speed, they want clarity and care in how you speak. Let's look at reported speech, which is often used when taking or delivering messages in legal calls. For example, a client says, I need to speak to my lawyer. You don't quote them word for word. Instead, you report what they said. For example, the client said she needed to speak to her lawyer. Or if a judge says, please call me back before 3 p.m., you might tell your colleague, the judge asked us to call her back before 3 p.m. Notice how the verbs change. Need becomes needed. Ask becomes asked. This style is more professional and common when relaying messages. Let's practice some real-world reporting. Your colleague asks, "What did the client say?" Here's what the client said on the phone. "I signed the contract yesterday." You say, "She said she had signed the contract yesterday." Next one. "My court date is on Tuesday." You say, "He said his court date was on Tuesday." "I can't speak to the other party." You say, "She said she couldn't speak to the other party." See how we shift the tense? This kind of grammar is everywhere in legal communication, especially when delivering accurate messages. Let's talk about intonation, the rise and fall of your voice when speaking. Look at these two sentences. You're calling about the contract. You're calling about the contract? The first sounds like a statement, but the second, with that rising tone at the end, becomes a yes-no question. In English, yes-no questions usually rise at the end. WH, like who, what, when, like what time did you call questions, usually fall. Getting this right helps you sound confident and natural, especially on the phone, where your tone is your main tool for communication. Let's test your intonation and tone. A client says, "I have a question." Which sounds most polite and professional? A, "What do you want to ask me?" Too direct. Sounds impatient. "You have a question?" That rising intonation is confusing. It sounds doubtful. For me, the best answer is C. "Could you tell me what your question is, please?" It uses a soft tone, polite phrasing, and neutral intonation. In legal communication, especially over the phone, how you say things matters just as much as what you say. Now, my favorite part of the lesson, legal phrases and idioms. Get back to someone. Let's start with a very useful one. Get back to someone. This means to respond later to a phone call, email, or request. For example, "I don't have that information now, but I'll get back to you by the end of the day." In legal work, you can't always answer a question immediately, but you can keep communication professional by saying, "Let me check that, and I'll get back to you shortly." It shows you're reliable and that you respect the client's time. Here's a good idiom. Touch base. This means to make quick contact, to check in, follow up, or share a brief update. For example, "I'm calling to touch base on your upcoming court date." It's less formal than follow-up, but still professional. Lawyers often use it to keep clients informed without sounding too stiff, too formal. "I just wanted to touch base about your case and let you know we received the court notice." Another phrase, put someone on speaker. This means to switch the call to speakerphone so other ones in the room can hear. For example, "Let me put you on speaker so my colleague can hear this too." In legal meetings or team calls, this comes up all the time, especially during client consultations or multi-party calls. Always tell the person before you do it though, because confidentiality matters. For example, "Is it okay if I put you on speaker? I'm with the litigation team now." For the record, here's a phrase with legal weight. It means you want something to be officially stated or remembered. For example, "For the record, I did return the client's call yesterday." It is often used in court, but also in firm communication, especially when there's a disagreement or miscommunication. For example, "For the record, we contacted the opposing counsel 3 times before the deadline." It signals that the information matters and might need to be written down or repeated. The last phrase, hang up on someone. Here's a less polite phrase, but it's important to understand. You hang up on someone. It means to end a phone call suddenly without saying goodbye. So, For example, the client was frustrated and hung up on the receptionist. In legal work, this might happen when someone's angry or stressed, and of course, the key is to stay calm and respond professionally. You could say, for example, "Oh, it seems the line was disconnected. I'll follow up by email." You don't accuse, you just stay composed and keep the communication moving forward. And let's do one more actually. Patch someone in. So, patch someone in, it means to connect another person to the same phone call. For example, "I'll patch in Attorney Rojas so we can speak together." You'll use this when calls go from one-on-one to group calls. Always tell the caller what's happening. For example, "One moment, I'm going to patch in my colleague who's handling the litigation." It keeps the client informed and maintains professionalism. Let's bring it all together with one final story, a common scene in any law office. It's 3:45 p.m. and Sophia, the junior associate, returns from court. As she walks into the office, the receptionist says, "For the record, Attorney Gomez from the opposing firm called earlier. He said he needed to confirm a filing deadline." Sophia replies, "Did he leave a message?" The reception nods. "Yes. He'll get back to you by 4:30. I told him you were unavailable, but that I'd let you know as soon as you returned." Sophia checks her notes and says, "Perfect. I'll touch base with him now." She picks up the phone and dials. When Attorney Gomez answers, Sophia says, "Hi, this is Sophia Morales from Rivera and Cruz. I'm calling to follow up. I understand you had a question about the deadline." He replies, "Yes. I wasn't sure if the deadline included weekends." Sophia responds clearly, using a polite, rising intonation. "Would you like me to check with the clerk and get back to you in a few minutes?" He agrees. She hangs up, makes a quick call, and then follows through, just like she promised. Sophia then calls Attorney Gomez again and says, "Thanks for holding the line earlier. I've confirmed with the court. Weekends are excluded. You're good through Monday." It's a simple story, but it shows you everything we practice today. Professional vocabulary, courteous tone in question forms, clear use of reported speech, and legal phrases like "get back to you," "for the record," and "touch base." It's not about being perfect, it's about being clear, calm, and confident. Before we wrap up, let's review what we practiced today. You learned essential vocabulary for legal phone calls, terms like "hold the line," "unavailable," and "put through." All phrases you'll hear every day in a law office. Then we focused on grammar, using reported speech to relay messages accurately and question intonation to sound polite and confident, even when you're asking something on the spot. You also picked up some real legal idioms, phrases like "get back to you," "for the record," and "touch base," all tools for sounding natural and professional. Most importantly, we practice how to manage legal phone calls, taking messages, responding clearly, following up, and keeping calm and courteous under pressure. Great work today. Your legal English communication is getting stronger with every class. See you in the next one.